All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our June Keys Penguin Habitat. My name is Dana, and then I also have Kelsey with me as well. We both work here at the aquarium, and today we were just feeding our Magellanic penguins. So this is their last feed of the day, and they saved the best for last. They were definitely hungriest in the afternoon today. But it looks like most of them are either falling asleep on the beach or just kind of swimming right after a meal. So their feeding is pretty much done, but I figured I'd hang out down here up on the deck for just a little bit, in case a couple more of our penguins seem to show any kind of signs of hunger. Like I said, welcome to the aquarium and welcome to our penguin habitat. Thank you guys so much for joining us and having an interest in our penguins. So we have 20 Magellanic penguins here at the aquarium, and Magellanic penguins are a species of penguin that are never really going to see ice or snow. They're South American species. Oh, Gat sees a bug in the air. They're a South American species, so they're used to kind of beaches, rocky beaches, sandy beaches, and slightly colder water. So our water in this exhibit is fairly chilly for our penguins. They do enjoy swimming in colder water. But again, you're never going to really see them surrounded by a bunch of ice, which is why we don't really have a lot of ice up here on the deck. They are one of the smaller species of penguins, and they are a burrowing penguin as well. So if you look kind of off to the side and back behind us along the rock walk, you can see some holes kind of going back into the rocks. Those are actually their burrows. So there's a couple of penguins. Usually they will stick together as a pair for their life, or however long it suits them, or if one no longer lives in that same area or colony. But they'll stick together usually for most of their lives. And they kind of control or rule that burrow. Like you can see over on the far end is Roxy, and that's Roxy's burrow or her house. And she's just kind of standing outside of that burrow right now. Now you may hear them calling to each other or vocalizing. They are a very social species. We would call this group their colony or their group of penguins that they all like to hang out in. And they kind of get their name or their nickname for that kind of donkey-sounding sort of braying call. And we'll see if Gats wants another hearing here. No, that was a hard pass. So sometimes they act like they're hungry, but then they kind of get the fish in their mouth and they're like, yeah, I don't think so. Not really feeling it. And it kind of depends on our penguins. They all have different personalities. They all have names as well. If you look on your right-hand side of the exhibit, you'll see a whole list of different names. You'll also notice little colored dots next to their names as well, and those correspond with armbands that you'll see on our penguins. Now those colors actually act as numbers, and they identify our individual penguins in our flock among all of the Magellanic penguins throughout the United States. So we can kind of keep track of all the penguins that we have in the Magellanic colony of the United States. But like I said, those bands, those beads and those colors correspond to an individual penguin, as well as having those colors. They also have a name, like Anderson or Andy is right in front of the beach with me right here, and this is Gats over to my right-hand side, and Kelsey is preening Admiral. So Admiral Fancy Pants is one of our newer penguins here. And preening is totally normal for our penguins, and sometimes you'll see them alloprene or kind of preen you back. But essentially, they want to keep their feathers clean. So when we clean their feathers, sometimes they'll clean our feathers back. Now, we don't have feathers, but they try to do that anyways. Like you can see, he's cleaning the feathers on her arms. But that's a totally natural behavior. You'll see penguins do that to each other. Again, it kind of serves as sort of forming a bond with that other penguin or another animal. But their feathers are very, very important to these penguins because they spend about half their lives in the water. They're going to spend about 6 months during kind of a migration phase or a migratory period where they're going out to sea, pretty far out to sea, and they're looking for food. They're looking for fish. So here at the aquarium, we feed them herring. Herring is a slightly larger silverfish. It's kind of fatty. They like that. But some prefer capelin, like this little guy here. Hey, Gats. And he said no again. But you'll notice if you did see them feed earlier, they swallow their food whole. They don't really chew or bite their food. So they'll swallow it actually whole. They'll just go right down their throat, which is actually really kind of cool and a little weird to watch. But this is kind of what they'd be eating out in their natural habitat, any kind of small silver schooling fish that they could catch. Penguins can swim very quickly. You'll notice if any of the penguins are kind of fighting or if something startles them up above the water, you'll notice them kind of streak and take off underwater, and they can swim probably up to 15, 20 miles an hour when they really want to put on a burst of speed, but usually they're cruising anywhere between 0 to 5 miles an hour. And it looks like right now everyone's just kind of cruising in the water. You'll notice them kind of turning on their sides, slapping their fins in the water, and kind of preening or cleaning their own feathers. And like I was saying, their feathers are very, very important to them, to stay nice and dry and warm in the water. Now, staying dry in the water sounds a bit like an oxymoron, but their skin does stay dry. If you see them dive down to the bottom, you might notice bubbles streaming out of their feathers. It's kind of like a sea otter's fur. They trap air bubbles underneath that thick layer of feathers that they have on their body, and their feathers are kind of ratcheted if you look at them under a microscope, so they actually interlock and trap air bubbles underneath them. So their feathers kind of work a bit like a down jacket or a down coat to kind of keep them warm in the colder waters. But it also keeps them very streamlined when they're swimming as well. And they'll use their flippers or their paddles sort of like wings on a bird that's flying, except they'll kind of just fly through the water. Now, it looks like pretty much nobody has any interest in feeding anymore right now. So we're going to be wrapping up our time out here on Penguin Beach, but thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you for coming out to the Aquarium of the Pacific today. We are a nonprofit organization, so just by visiting, you guys are actually directly putting money towards our animals, towards feeding our penguins. And they eat quite a lot of food. I'd say anywhere between like 15 to 20% of their body weight every single day. So thank you all so much for supporting us, and have a wonderful rest of your day here at the aquarium.